Hello guys, I am Settle and today I will discuss with you the best tanking spec I could find for soloing Cataclysm Heroic. So let us begin. First, of course, you're gonna spec Blood. Now let's look over the talents. There's Butchery, which grants you runic power once you've killed an enemy, which is quite a leveling talent. There's Bladed Barrier, which has been really buffed since 4.3, which you really need to take. And then we have Bladed Armor, which helps with your threat and also with your DPS while soloing. Now we have Improved Blood Tap, which can be your choice, but I didn't pick Improved Blood Tap because of the Epidemic talent, but we'll talk about it later. Now, another important talent for blood soloing is Scent of Blood, which grants you runic power once you dodged, parried, or took direct damage with a 15% chance. Yeah, that one's really good, helps with your DPS also when you have to summon the dancing rune weapon, but we'll talk about it in a second. Another important talent is Scarlet Fever, which reduces the target's physical damage once you apply Blood Plague to it, which helps you solo because it reduces the actual melee damage you take from the target. And yeah, there's Hand of Doom, which is a PvP talent. You shouldn't take it. Moving on, we have Blood Cake Strikes, which yeah, I tried that out, but it's kind of weak and it's useless, so I didn't take it. We have Bone Shield, yeah, that's one of the most important talents you could find. Toughness, of course, and Abomination's Might. Now, some of you might take Improved Blood Tap over Abomination's Might, but when you solo, Abomination's Might actually helps you, because that's the only attack power increase buff you can get. We have Sanguine Fortitude, of course. You got the Bloodworms here. Now, these are really cool because they hit the target 10 times and after that they explode, healing you for what should be 100% of their health. But that's kind of bugged. Heal for like 10k, no matter how much health they got. And there's, of course, Improved Blood Presence that yeah, doesn't let you get hit by critical attacks from bosses, because bosses only have 6% chance to crit you. We have Will of the Necropolis, which is really good if you're getting hammered and nuked. And of course Rune Tap. Also Vampiric Blood is quite a good talent. Now, moving on, we have Improved Death Strike, which is yeah, probably the most awesome talent on the spec. And which I didn't take is Crimson Scourge, which increases the damage done by my Blood Boil and gives me a 10% chance to have an instant with no cost Blood Boil. Yeah, if I hit targets affected by my Blood Plague. But when we are soloing, we don't take that because we use the Heart Strike to nuke the target down, and even if it's an AoE scenario, it's much more effective. Then we have the last talent, but not the least, Dancing Rune Weapon. Now you might think this is useless, but it can be very helpful in healing and dealing damage. Also avoidance. And I'll get into that later on. Now, moving on to Frost. Got Runic Power Mastery, which increases your maximum runic power by 130 from 100, which helps you because now with Lichborn you can cast 3 Death Coils on yourself instead of 2 Death Coils. And also there's Icy Reach when you need to, you know, you need to Frost Fever a target, then you Icy Touch it from like 30 yards, which is useful. And then it's Epidemic. Since I don't have the 2 set bonus from the Tier 12, I spec'd into Epidemic. When I had the bonus, then I set just 1 point in Epidemic, and my other 2 points were in Improved Blood Tap. And yeah, let's discuss the things you get when you spec into blood. You get, obviously, there's a hard strike, the veteran of the Third War, which gives you expertise. Now, you might think expertise is useless and also hit as a tank, but let me tell you, that's very wrong. Expertise is very important if you want to solo any boss, because, yeah, as we all know, heroic bosses are level 87, and you might just get dodged and parried by them. And also reduce the cooldown of outbreak, which with the help of epidemic keeps your diseases up all the time without having you to cast them on the target one by one, you see. Then we have blood rights, which when you obliterate and death strike, but you never obliterate. When you death strike, it'll turn those two runes into death runes, which you can use to DPS with your hard strike 2 times, or yeah, just do another death strike. There's vengeance like any other thanks, and there's blood shield. Now, when I solo, I like to have more stamina than mastery, because I found it a better stat, since you take spell damage. And also, a lot of health is awesome. Now, moving on to glyphs. You might think this is pointless, but Glyph of Death Coil is quite really effective. Yeah, if you solo. If there's a raid scenario, you might just go ahead and get the Glyph of Death and Decay, or the Glyph of Icy Touch, or the Glyph of Rune Strike, which, yeah, didn't really take because I didn't like him, but that's your choice. Obviously, the Glyph of Heart Strike, which is an all-purpose glyph, and there's the Glyph of Death Strike, which increases the damage done by your Death Strike based on your runic power, which is really awesome. And yeah, the major glyphs are really your choice. The single one important I could find is the Glyph of Anti-Magic Shell. The other glyphs are, yeah, my Glyph of Rune Tap is for raid, and the Glyph of Blood Bowl is for AoE threat. And obviously the minor glyphs, which are kinda obvious, because, yeah, no, let's be serious, who gets Glyph of Death Grip, or Glyph of Frostpath or something? Yeah, Glyph of Frostpath might be useful, but Glyph of Death Gate is, yeah, it's kinda useless. So that's it for this guide, and coming up with more. If you have constructive criticism which you'd like to give me, then post it in the comments below. Thanks, and settle out.